Imagine this. You spend the next 20 years of your life paying for a house, thinking you're building wealth. But in reality, you're quietly losing tens of thousands of dollars without even realizing it. Sounds crazy, right? But this is exactly what's happening to millions of people right now in America. In fact, as of 2026, housing costs have reached record highs, and most buyers are making decisions based on emotion, not math. And here's the scary part. Nobody tells them the full story. But before we start, here's a quick note. Hello, my name is Marsh, and I am not a financial advisor. This video is purely for educational purposes only. Always consult a qualified professional before making any major financial decisions. Now, most people think, if I'm paying rent, I'm wasting money, so buying must be better. It feels logical. It feels safe. It feels like the adult decision. But what if I told you that this thinking alone could be one of the biggest financial mistakes you ever make? Because the truth is, focusing only on your monthly mortgage, your EMI, is like judging the cost of a car by just the fuel and ignoring everything else. And this is where people get trapped. They look at a $2,500 monthly mortgage and compare it to $2,000 rent and think, it's close enough, I should buy. But they're missing the hidden costs. The silent money drain that slowly eats their wealth over time. And once you understand this, you can never unsee it. Now here's the real question you should be asking yourself. Are you actually building wealth by buying a house? Or just locking your money into something that feels like an investment but behaves very differently? And more importantly, why do smart investors sometimes choose to rent, even when they can easily afford to buy? Stick with me, because once you see the numbers behind this, your entire perspective on renting versus buying might completely change. So here's the idea that completely changes how you should look at this decision. It's called the 5% rule. And don't worry, this is not some complicated finance formula. It's actually one of the simplest ways to figure out whether buying a house makes sense or not. The rule says this: take the price of a home, and assume that about 5% of that value is what it really costs you every single year to own it. Not just your mortgage, your real cost. Now you might be wondering, where does that 5% even come from? Good question. It's actually made up of three major things that most people completely ignore. First, around 1% goes into maintenance, fixing things, repairs, stuff breaking over time. Second, about 1% goes into property taxes and insurance. And third, this is the big one, about 3% is your opportunity cost, meaning the money you locked into the house could have been invested somewhere else and earned returns. This is the part most people never think about. Now let's make this real. Imagine you're looking at a $400,000 house, pretty common in many parts of America as of 2026. Take 5% of that, and you get $20,000 per year. Break that down monthly, and that's about $1,666 per month as your true cost of owning that home. Now pause for a second and compare that number to rent in your area. If you can rent a similar place for $1,400 or even $1,500, then financially, renting might actually be the smarter move. Surprised? Most people are. Because they've been told their whole life that renting is throwing money away. But here's the twist inside this. When you rent, your cost is fixed and predictable. When you own, your costs are layered and often invisible. So the smarter question isn't, can I afford the monthly payment? It's, what is this home actually costing me every year? And once you start thinking this way, you stop making emotional decisions and start making strategic ones. Now, before you go and decide, okay, renting is always better, let's slow down for a second. Because this is where most people misunderstand the 5% rule. This rule is a guideline, not a law. And there are situations where buying a home can still be the smarter move. For example, if you're in a high-growth area, cities where property values are rising fast, your home might actually appreciate enough to offset those hidden costs. Or if mortgage interest rates drop significantly, your overall cost of owning could become much lower. And then there's the lifestyle factor, stability. Control over your space, not worrying about rent increases. those things matter too. This is why smart financial decisions are never black and white. They're about context. They're about your income, your goals, your timeline. But here's the key takeaway I want you to remember. Don't buy a house just because it feels right. Buy it because the numbers make sense. Because at the end of the day, your emotions don't pay your bills, your decisions do. And the difference between someone who builds wealth and someone who struggles financially is often just this: they ask better questions before making big decisions. So instead of asking, "Should I buy or rent?" start asking, "What is this decision really costing me?" Now I want to make this interactive. Take a minute after this video, calculate 5% of the home price you're considering, divide it by 12, and compare it to your rent. And then come back and drop your numbers in the comments. Because the goal here is not just to give you information, it's to help you make smarter financial moves in real life. And remember, you don't need to be rich to make smart decisions, you just need to be aware. And the moment you start thinking this way, you're already ahead of most people.